President Trump about to give the graduation speech to the Air Force Academy. Hello, everyone. I'm Dana Perino, and this is the Daily Briefing. And earlier today, President Trump unloading on Robert Mueller after his statement on the Russia investigation. His strong words coming amid the growing Democratic push for his impeachment. Chief White House correspondent John Roberts is live on the North Lawn with more. John, before the president speaks, what do you have there at the North Lawn?
Well, we saw the president leave for the Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs earlier today and really unload on the special counsel, well, at least the former special counsel, Robert Mueller. It's because when Mueller came out and made his statement yesterday, he really raised the political stakes of what lies ahead, really forcing the president to come out hard against him. The president, as he was leaving, repeated the Mueller report's main finding of no collusion, again insisted that there was no obstruction, even though Robert Mueller laid out 10 points that might have constituted obstruction. And then the president really went after Mueller and his team. Listen here.
I think he is a total conflicted person. I think Mueller is a true never-Trumper. He's somebody that dislikes Donald Trump. He's somebody that didn't get a job that he requested, that he wanted very badly, and then he was appointed. And despite that, and despite $40 million, 18 Trump haters, including people that work for Hillary Clinton and some of the worst human beings on earth, they got nothing. It's pretty amazing.
As you can see, the president didn't hold back anything there. Among White House officials, the Mueller report is widely seen as Mueller handing a roadmap to Democrats to pursue impeachment proceedings against the president. And while there are growing calls in the Democratic Party to go down that road, there are some serious political considerations in terms of what the impact on Democrats might be, which is one reason why Nancy Pelosi is taking it very cautiously. Listen here.
Nothing is off the table. But we do want to make such a compelling case, such an ironclad case, that even the Republican Senate, which at the time seems to be not an objective jury, will be convinced of the path that we have to take as a country.
Now, one of the things that Democrats are keeping in mind in all of this, back in 1999, after his impeachment proceedings in the House and the Senate failed to convict, President Bill Clinton's ratings jumped by 10 points, while Republicans' ratings dropped by 12. And with the makeup in the Senate and the fact that you need 67 votes in order to convict the president, it's not likely that that would happen. So the Democrats now have to make this political calculation of how much they are willing to risk to go down impeachment, or do they just continue to suggest that the impeachment process might be out there, but at the same time stop short of it and continue these investigations, hoping that will be enough to keep the president off balance until November of next year. We'll find out. Dana?
We will indeed. John Roberts from the White House. Thank you. More on this now with Karl Rove, former White House Deputy Chief of Staff and a Fox News contributor. And as I mentioned, the president about to give the speech. He just started speaking. We'll take a few minutes of this now.
And Commander of Air Force Space Command, General J. Raymond. Thank you, General. Space Command. And to all of the distinguished faculty, coaches, and staff, thank you for forging and refining a new generation of American warriors. We're also joined by many distinguished Air Force veterans and Academy graduates. We applaud and salute you all. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here. And to the thousands of moms and dads and grandparents and family members beaming with joy, and that's what they're doing. They are beaming with joy. Thank you for raising rock-ribbed American patriots. America is stronger thanks to your love and your support for these incredible people, these incredible graduates. Cadets, join me in paying tribute to your amazing Air Force families. Go ahead, pay tribute. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Without them, you wouldn't be here, and that's the way it is. That's the way it is. Most of all, to the nearly 1,000 cadets who I have agreed to shake every single hand. They gave me a choice. They said, sir, you don't have to shake any hands. Some people do that. Those are the smart ones. They're out of here. You can shake one hand to the one person, top of the class. You could shake 10, 50, or 100. And you could also stay for 1,000. And I'm staying for 1,000, okay? And I know we're all going to make it. There's no doubt about it, right? There's no doubt about it. To the nearly 1,000 cadets who will soon become second lieutenants in the U.S. Air Force, you could have chosen any...
All right, that's President Trump. He is in Colorado Springs and giving the commencement speech there at the Air Force Academy, which is a true honor for presidents. And he said he's going to stay there and shake every hand, and that's 1,000 graduates. So we're going to let him continue on giving that commencement speech. I'm going to go back to Karl Rove, former White House Deputy Chief of Staff and a Fox News contributor. Presidents have to do a lot of things in a day. The president this morning, before he left for Colorado Springs, punched back against Robert Mueller pretty aggressively, and then he's turned. It doesn't look like it's affected his mood, though, at the Air Force Academy.
Well, hard for bad things to intrude on a great moment like being able to go to the Academy. You and I were privileged to go with our boss.
Look, he got better weather, though.
Yeah, he did get better weather. What's going to be interesting to me is to see if anybody does what they did to President Bush at the Air Force Academy and chest bump him.
Yeah, we'll see.
Which drove the Secret Service
and almost broke
insane.
the internet.
Yeah, exactly.
Tell me what you think, though, about the initial response from the White House. And Mueller, I think he didn't have to give the statement. He basically said everything that was already in the report, but it brought it all back up again. And there is something about having it on camera now.
Right.
And now the Democrats feel emboldened, and the president also feeling like he has to push back hard.
Well, I'm not certain the Democrats feel emboldened by it. I took it as a different thing. I took Mueller's statement yesterday as a direct message to the Democrats. Don't call me up to the Hill because I'm not going to say anything that's not already in the report. And if you want to have a spectacle, I'm going to be up there. I will talk about what's inside the parameters of this report, but it's not going to be comfortable for you, and you're not going to get anything from me that you can use for your purposes. I've said what I'm going to say. The report speaks for itself. So I think the big losers of this are the Democrats, because I think they were hoping for a gigantic spectacle. They were hoping to have him up there as a cooperating witness, being able to ask him questions and get answers that would embarrass the president. But instead, he said, the report speaks for itself.
Do you think that
there
Pelosi,
was nothing new we heard yesterday?
Do you think Speaker Pelosi and even Joe Biden, because the two of them have pretty much been in lockstep, can they continue to have that united front and say that we don't need to do full impeachment hearings?
Well, it's going to be unusual because, remember, we got Biden and, of all people, Bernie Sanders not endorsing impeachment, and virtually every other one of the big, the leading, the top pack of the Democrat presidential nominees saying impeach. Now, she doesn't want to impeach because she knows what's going to happen, which is this is going to be embarrassing for the Democrats, because what the American people are going to say is, wait a minute, no conspiracy, no collusion. So why could you accuse him of obstructing something that wasn't going to hold him guilty of doing anything? So
how much do you think they're looking at public opinion polls? You know, we had this Fox News poll that said, like, how much do you trust? Who do you trust more to tell the truth on the Russia investigation? Democrats in Congress, 44%. Trump administration, 3%. Basically, it's all very partisan, right?
Right.
But we also know that when they're on the campaign trail, 2020 Democrats are not talking about the Russia investigation.
No.
So the people are saying don't do this, but then you have elected leaders in Washington on the Democratic side wanting to do it.
We got the big four. We got Jerry Nadler, chairman of Judiciary, Adam Schiff, chairman of Intelligence, Maxine Waters, Financial Services, Clyburn, chairman of Oversight. They want to impeach him. And they're going to keep driving that. And you have others out on the hard left of the Democratic Party, Tom Steyer. I get an email a day from him saying,
do you think the Republicans have a good chance of winning back House districts that they lost in 2018 midterms, in districts that Trump won by plus 10 in some places. Do Republicans have a chance to win back those seats if they go for impeachment?
Why do you think Nancy Pelosi is not moving forward on impeachment? She knows she could lose her majority in 2020 if she gets all of these Democrats in red and purple districts to go out there. The Harvard-Harris poll, 65% of the American people say, stop it.
Enough.
No impeachment.
Right.
And big majorities of independents, and of course, near unanimity among Republicans, as you'd expect. But she's not dumb, and she knows she could very well lose her majority in the House in 2020, or at least see it squeezed down to a very difficult.
Nothing.
Yeah.
All right. Karl Rove, good to see you here in New York
Good to be here. Thank you.
All right. Next, the spotlight turned on Nancy Pelosi after Robert Mueller exits the stage. So can she keep her caucus together as the pressure to launch impeachment grows? Plus, historic flooding along the Arkansas River, leaving dams and levees under new stress and adding to the misery. We're live in the flood zone. Still ahead.
Your favorite shows on Channel 114. Plus, every story, every 15 minutes. Fox News headlines 24/7, Channel 115.
Robert Mueller threw the ball into Congress's court after announcing his retirement from the Justice Department. Benjamin Wittes writes in the Lawfare blog, quote, Congress's current strategy is an incoherent muddle. Some, judging from their statements, seem focused chiefly on getting the full, unredacted Mueller report and the investigative work product that underlies it. Why exactly this is the focus is unclear to me. The marginal information Congress is likely to glean from the full report is small. Greg Nunziata is former counsel to the Senate Judiciary Committee, and Neil Quinter is former chief counsel to Democratic Senator Dianne Feinstein of California, because we needed two experts on here to help us understand all of this. Greg, you tell me, what do you think the play is here? If they get the unredacted report, all of a sudden things will be different?
No, I share Witt's instinct on this. We've seen most of the report, almost all of it. There's very minor redactions. Select congressmen are able to read those redactions, and most of those redactions, I think, are going to be held up in court if Congress tries to litigate it. There's plenty other avenues they could pursue. They could pursue developing the Mueller report narrative that's already out there. Or if I were them, I would look in other areas, frankly. They've got lots of oversight power. They can look at all sorts of policies of this administration that they want to criticize or draw contrasts with. This pursuit of the Mueller report and the Mueller evidence as though Mueller and ultimately the Justice Department were not transparent is just bizarre and I think misplaced.
And you actually, even yesterday, Mueller went out of his way to say that he had no problem with the way Bill Barr, the Attorney General, had put things forward. Neil, tell me about what you think about the risk to Democrats or the reward to Democrats, if there is one, to pursue impeachment at this stage.
Well, impeachment can be seen as a partisan exercise, and that's the risk that they run, that it'll be just dismissed as partisan politics. But I don't think that they should be cowed by that. I think it's important that the House stand up for the rule of law and for its own responsibilities and authorities in this case. I mean, basically, Donald Trump has run roughshod over the law for decades and in recent years, and it's just, stuck his finger in the eye of Congress when it comes to subpoenas.
You don't worry about maybe history repeating itself, as the Republicans learned a lesson when they impeached Clinton. I was on the Hill at the time. I think you guys were too. That was something to behold. I know that history doesn't always repeat, but it certainly rhymes. And what do you think about the risk to the Democrats of this tactic?
I think you can overlearn the lessons of the past. Go back to that previous impeachment. What happened in the next election? George W. Bush was elected president. The Republicans held the House. The Republicans held the Senate. It actually didn't cost them anything in terms of a bottom line final result. And the situations are also different in that President Clinton was a very popular president at that point. He had a 66% approval rating in the fall of 1998. President Trump is historically unpopular. So while the situations are similar, they're really not identical.
Greg, what do you think about Republicans? Are they well positioned in the Judiciary Committee to be able to push back against Jerry Nadler, who is the chairman? He looked like he was ready to go yesterday.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think they have an argument that will resonate with their voters and voters in the middle, that this case seems awfully weak. I mean, I think there's plenty of material in the Mueller report that the Democrats may want to highlight that does not, frankly, look good for the president, that is not flattering, that they may want to criticize. But removing a president from office, a democratically elected president from office, is a dramatic step. And the idea that we're going to do it on the basis of an investigation that came up roughly empty on collusion and only had these sketches of behavior that could be characterized as obstructive, but did not, in fact, obstruct an investigation. That's just a very thin reed to hang such a dramatic move on. I think the Republicans will be well placed.
Neil, can I get a last word from you just about maybe the differences between how Senate Democrats might be thinking about this versus the Democrats in the House, especially the ones who are not running for president and the ones that have to run in districts where President Trump was very popular last time around?
Well, I think it certainly is a concern for those Democrats in swing seats. You know, the vast majority of House Democrats are in safe seats, safer really than Senate Democrats are in. But, you know, there comes a point when you have to do the right thing.
All right. Well, we will see what happens. We like having you on for your expertise. We appreciate it. Greg Nunziata and Neil Quinter, thank you.
Thank you.
Dana. Thank you, Dana.
Ahead, the number of 2020 Democratic candidates supporting an impeachment inquiry, well, it's growing. How will that resonate with voters? We'll talk about it. And our own Jennifer Griffin just got some new information from a Navy official. Turns out sailors from the USS McCain weren't the only ones not invited to the president's speech. She'll have that update next. President Trump making it clear today that he had nothing to do with directing the U.S. Navy to keep the USS John McCain out of sight during his recent visit to Japan. The ship's namesakes are the late Senator John McCain and his father and grandfather. National security correspondent Jennifer Griffin, she's live at the Pentagon. Jennifer?
Dana, I can confirm after speaking to several U.S. Navy officers, there was an email from the White House military office, including White House staffers, requesting that the USS John McCain be kept out of sight during the president's visit. The president admitted as much this morning after his spokespeople had called the entire story fake news.
I would never do a thing like that. Now, somebody did it because they thought I didn't like him, okay? And they were well-meaning, I will say. I didn't know anything about it. I would never have done that.
The Wall Street Journal was the first to report the story. The email from the White House preceded the president's Memorial Day speech on board the USS Wasp in Japan, which was parked near the McCain, which is undergoing repairs after a 2017 accident. Acting Defense Secretary Patrick Shanahan was forced to push back on any suggestion he was involved.
I never authorized or never approved any action around the movement or activity regarding that ship. And furthermore, I would never dishonor the memory of a great American patriot like Senator McCain. I also think it's important I'd never disrespect the young men and women that crew that ship.
The story garnered reaction from the late senator's daughter and presidential candidates alike.
The president's actions have consequences, and when you repeatedly are attacking my father and war heroes, it creates a culture in the military where people are clearly fearful to show, my father's name in one way or another, and that, I think, is what has started this chain of events and actions.
John McCain was a war hero, should be treated as a war hero. Anything less than that is beneath anyone who doesn't treat him that way.
The tarp that covered the name of the ship was taken down 2 days before the president spoke, according to a Navy spokesman. And the USS McCain sailors were not the only sailors not invited to attend the president's speech. Sailors on board the USS Stetham were also not invited. Dana?
All right, Jennifer, thank you. Georgia facing growing Hollywood backlash over its controversial abortion law. And after Amazon pulled one of its shows out of the state, Netflix now saying that if the legislation goes into effect, it will rethink its entire investment in Georgia. And Walt Disney Company CEO Bob Iger suggests his company may do the same.
Well, I think if it becomes law, it'll be very difficult to produce, or rather doubt we will. I don't think I think many people who work for us will not want to work there, and we'll have to heed their wishes in that regard.
TV and film production in Georgia have created 92,000 jobs, with 455 productions shot in the state in the last year. A new generation gap shifting the balance of power on Election Day. Plus, The Five just about had it with politics. The show teamed up with John Rich to get everyone to shut up about it. He's here with co-writer Greg Gutfeld with the debut of his new song. A growing list of 2020 Democrats, at least 9 now, are calling for impeachment proceedings. Joining me now, Trent Duffy, a former deputy press secretary to George W. Bush, and Capri Cafaro, a former Ohio Senate minority leader. And great to have you both here. Of course, Trent, one of my wonderful former colleagues from the Bush White House. Let me start with you. You were in D.C. in 1997-98 when the impeachment of Bill Clinton went underway. Do you think that this is a good idea to do it again?
For Democrats, it's not, and I think that's why Pelosi is resisting it as much as she is. It's just it's a fool's errand. I don't know that she can resist that. The Republicans were not able to resist the impulses of their party in the 90s when impeachment proceedings went against Clinton. It turned out that a bunch of extremist Republican congressmen became the face of the party. Bill Clinton was riding a pretty strong economy, and it helped him to convince the American people that he cared more about what they cared about and less about Washington.
And he rode a wave of high popularity up until really the last election, and that was other issues that, the same issue, I guess, that came forward. But even if they don't call for a formal impeachment, they're spending an awful lot of time on Capitol Hill talking about investigations up at different sorts. So I call it shadow impeachment.
And you're not alone in that.
Okay.
I think that there's the American public probably feels the same way, that there's a lot of activity and energy being focused on impeachment when it should be focused in other places like infrastructure, for example, or focusing again on health care as the Democrats did in the 2018 midterm election. I do think that it is very smart for Nancy Pelosi, we do agree on this as a fellow Buckeye, to avoid impeachment at all costs. And I think we need to remember that this is not, while there are vocal people within the Democratic ranks that are calling for impeachment, there's only about 40 in the House Democratic Caucus out of about 247. So and I know that that number is not entirely accurate, but basically it's about 20% of that caucus. So it's not good politics to give in to them. And I think what is good politics is focusing on how we deal with making sure that Russia or any other foreign adversary does not get involved in the next election.
What's interesting is that Bob Mueller yesterday, by making that statement, he talked about Russia twice at the beginning and the end, but by talking about obstruction so much, it's like he mooted that point. And that's why everyone's talking about impeachment. I do want to talk about Bernie Sanders, because he is one of the 2020 Democrats who is not yet calling for impeachment. So it's he and Biden who are up at the top, and yet people on his team are concerned. There's a woman from Occupy DNC. Okay, she's upset. She says that people are becoming more upset and becoming more firm behind Bernie due to mainstream media not covering a lot of his events and the strong push for Biden. Is 2016 going to happen all over again? It is sure feeling like it, but I tell you, they're going to see a fight like they have never seen before. And Trent, this comes as Bernie Sanders cannot really get a foothold against Biden.
Yeah, I think he's got a hard ceiling. I mean, the number one reason Bernie was popular the last time around was Hillary Rodham Clinton, because many Democrats still couldn't stand her then. They still can't stand her now, many Americans. So it's a binary choice. Now, if you got a better candidate out there, you're going to naturally go to the better candidate, because the platforms are similar. Bernie has pulled everybody so far left, whichever way it is, that everybody can be with Bernie's platform without Bernie's baggage. And so I think that's why he's suffering. I think that's why he has a ceiling, and I think that's why he hasn't been able to break further than he has.
But Bernie feels that he's the purest Bernie. He's the one that created this Bernie revolution that he wants to finish.
Is the fire still out there for him?
People are not feeling the burn for Bernie. I agree with you. I mean, I think that those that are interested in a more progressive, more purist progressive message have, 18 other people out of the 22 to pick from. So there's a lot of different options in that space. But I do think that Bernie Sanders, if he does not get the nomination, will not be a graceful
loser. Also, do you think that he'll focus just on these grievances, like that everything's rigged against him?
Yes.
And the legacy.
Is that attractive?
No.
Wow, everybody agrees on this panel.
Well, the legacy of Bernie is that he could put the Democrats' nominee in peril, because he's pulled the party so far left.
That's my biggest
that they
concern.
become the party of the freeloaders.
As a Democrat, I'm worried about a floor fight.
Yes.
At the convention.
At the courtesy of Bernie
As somebody
Sanders.
in the media, I'm really looking forward to it.
Yes, that'll sell tickets. That'll boost ratings.
I asked Brit Hume, what's it like to cover a contested convention? He's like, haven't done it yet. So I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if it does, we'll have you both back. Trent Douglas and Capri Cafaro, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now for some hot topics in today's campaign trail mix. Thinning the herd on the campaign stage, a generational shift at the ballot box, plus the one list where Biden is not on top, and a new town hall VIP. Mike Emanuel is live in Washington with today's trail mix. Mike?
Dana, good afternoon. Some Democratic candidates are not happy about the DNC's new criteria for the second round of debates. Some were already struggling to reach the lower initial standard of 65,000 donors or 1% support in 3 qualified polls. For the next round, candidates will need support from 130,000 unique donors and at least 2% support in 4 polls. That could keep a number of presidential hopefuls off the big stage. Senator Michael Bennet and former Congressman John Delaney's campaign have complained. A Delaney spokesman saying, quote, the role of the DNC shouldn't be to narrow the field. That's the role of the voters. It's like we learned nothing from 2016. Voters in Iowa and New Hampshire should have a chance to pick the nominee, not party bosses. For years, there's been a great deal of focus on driving young voter turnout, but doubts about whether they would actually show up. Now, Pew Research says Generation Z, Millennials, and Generation X, ages 18 to 53, cast 62.2 million votes compared to 60.1 million votes by baby boomers and older generations. Millennials and Gen X together cast 21.9 million more votes in 2018 than in 2014. Former Vice President Joe Biden is riding high in most early polls except one. Greenpeace gave Biden a D-. The grade took into consideration statements, legislative records, published plans, and responses to a survey. Washington Governor Jay Inslee is at the top of the list with an A-, and climate action is the center of his platform. Cory Booker and Bernie Sanders get B+. Former HUD Secretary Julian Castro's campaign announced today he will participate in a Fox News town hall on June 13th in Arizona. Our colleagues Bret Baier and Martha McCallum will host the event in Phoenix. Castro will be the 5th Democratic candidate to appear at a Fox News town hall. Dana?
And we're going to watch all of them. All right. Thank you, Mike.
You bet.
Another round of tornadoes hit Texas overnight, where the storms are heading now. An historic border bust in El Paso. Hear how many illegal migrants were trying to enter our nation all at once. And be sure to check out the new episode of my podcast, I'll Tell You What. With Chris Stirewalt, we discuss why Kamala Harris isn't resonating with voters, and Chris explains what exactly a West Virginia hot dog is. It's available for download on iTunes or wherever you listen.
Shepard Smith on the Fox News deck. Dogs on a plane. Are the rules just right? A man says an emotional support dog attacked him on an airplane, left him so bloody that the airline had to rip out all the seats. Now he's suing the airline. And the question today, could Delta be on the hook? Plus, we're learning how to delete any recording saved on your Amazon Alexa. Remember, it records everything. So how to delete it? We'll let you know in the next hour on Fox News.
And now a look at other stories. It's our Daily 3. More than 1,000 illegal immigrants were taken into U.S. custody on Wednesday at the El Paso border. Sources telling Fox this is the largest group to ever be captured at one time. Second, Russian misinformation campaigns are reportedly targeting health issues. George Washington University research found Russian trolls were using Twitter bots to fuel the anti-vaccination debate. This follows a New York Times report that government-backed network Russia Today was pushing unverified stories about 5G causing cancer.
I just want her to know how strong she is and how, I mean, if she can start off where she was and do as well as she can be, there's nothing she can't do.
And the world's smallest surviving baby, now at home. The baby girl who remains anonymous was born just under 9 ounces in December. That's the size of an apple. Now, 5 months later, she weighs in at a strong 5 pounds. The Army Corps of Engineers says floodwaters in the Arkansas River have crested, but that doesn't mean the threat is over. The river is still overflowing into Midwest communities, including here at a casino in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And now more rain is on the way. We have team coverage. Casey Stiegel is in Tulsa. But first, Matt Finn in Fort Smith, Arkansas. Matt?
Dana, people here are at the end of their rope. It's been about a week of storms and rising floodwater. Fortunately, this river has crested at an all-time high of about 41 feet. But as you could see around me, we're told it could be days until these floodwaters go down and people are able to get back into their homes to assess all of this damage. This Fort Smith neighborhood is one of many hit hard here. City officials estimate at least 1,000 homes in this region are affected or flooded. The river here is going down, but that means all this water is headed south towards the capital of Little Rock. The National Guard tells Fox News this afternoon its rescue crews have now moved to areas of concern, Dardenville, Arkansas, and state officials tell us Lake Conway near the capital is set to flood a lot of homes. And also it rained hard here, very hard, on and off all day yesterday. So the Army Corps of Engineers tells us the new precipitation did cause water levels to increase. We talked to a man in this neighborhood who tells us he moved his parents out of their house in about 8 to 10 hours.
I still hurt. Yeah, it was amazing how fast we moved this house out, and seeing the whole street and the community, how fast they moved out. Just at the end of the cove, they basically dumped sand, and all people from everywhere came in. We're just filling up sandbags, people putting,
The National Weather Service says there are record flood levels up and down the Arkansas River. Here in Fort Smith, 40 feet. Dardanelle, Arkansas, 44 feet. Morrilton, 42 feet. And state officials tell us they are moving south with this water as it heads towards the Little Rock area. The mayor of North Little Rock has already declared an emergency, and this water is expected to hit the capital into the weekend and early next week. Dana.
All right, Matt, thank you. In Oklahoma, many counties are under a flood warning until tomorrow, and Casey Stiegel is live there in Tulsa. Casey?
And Dana, if there is a bit of encouraging news, it's something I also saw in Matt Finn's live shot. Blue skies and sunshine, at least for right now. That is allowing things to dry out a little bit. It looks a little bit better in this part of Tulsa than where Matt just was, but I do want to step out of the way and show you how quickly the water has gone down. 24 hours ago, 48 hours ago, this was totally flooded out. What you see is Riverside Drive, this first little body of water here. It's a street. And then on the other side of the grass, the real raging water back there, well, that is the Arkansas River itself. It goes all the way down through Oklahoma as well, and it is also causing some big concerns. It's going back into its banks in this particular spot, but again, causing problems in other places. To give you a sense of how high the water was, Dana, look at the debris line, all of the sticks, the leaves there. That's how high it came up in this grass. But upstream from us, the Army Corps of Engineers releasing controlled releases of water to take pressure off of a major dam in this region. Now, the levees have held as well, but the water is putting extra pressure on them. So no one is letting their guards down despite blue skies.
We continue to keep a focus on the levee system. Just because we had one good night from a weather standpoint does not mean that we're going to be complacent in any way on this. We have to stay proactive on this.
And 10 miles south of here, part of Tulsa's River Spirit Casino and Resort, you talked about that in the intro, waterlogged. Floodwaters inundating the pool deck. Would you look at that? And the parking lots. Now, the 27-story hotel and the casino floor itself, we're told, is safe. It's elevated about 13 feet and remains dry at this point, but the resort says it will be closed through at least the beginning of June, and all 1,600 employees are still going to get a paycheck in that time until things dry out here. Dana?
Well, that's a little bit of good news there. Thank you, Casey. Fox News Alert, new reaction from Attorney General Bill Barr and whether he thinks Robert Mueller could have reached a decision on obstruction of justice. And country music star John Rich teamed up with me and Greg Gutfeld and the rest of the crew on The Five to create a song about politics. John and his amazing co-writer, Greg Gutfeld, join me.
A Kirsten Gillibrand Town Hall, Sunday, only on Fox News Channel.
I personally felt he could have reached a decision.
In your view, he could have reached a conclusion.
Right, he could have reached a conclusion. The opinion says you cannot indict a president while he's in office, but he could have reached a decision as to whether it was criminal activity. But he had his reasons for not doing it, which he explained, and I'm not going to, argue about those reasons. But when he didn't make a decision, the Deputy Attorney General, Rod Rosenstein, and I felt it was necessary for us as the heads of the department to reach that decision.
That's Attorney General William Barr in a new interview with CBS reacting to Robert Mueller's remarks on the Russia investigation. Joining me now, country music star John Rich and my co-host on The Five, Greg Gutfeld. It is Little and Rich.
Clever.
Thank you. Thank you. I wonder who came up with that joke. And so why are we here? We are here because
we're here to talk about a collaboration that cousin Greg and myself had. We wrote this song together called Shut Up About Politics, which I think is a pretty good title based on what's going on in our country. No matter what side of the aisle you're on, you're kind of sick of hearing about it.
You're sick of hearing about politics?
It's the greatest political song ever written because we're hoping it will be the last political song ever written. That would be great.
Like enough of politics? Enough
politics, right? It's like politics is like bad Botox. Wherever you inject it, things just go bad.
They go bad and they look all weird. We did have a poll, Fox News poll, issues on the voters' minds. It's always the same. Healthcare and immigration. Russian meddling was down at 21%. But you actually have been traveling a lot. You've been out doing your deal with Tom Shalhoub. You go out and you play in front of the fans. Do you get the sense that people are just tired of talking about politics? They're not thinking about it all the time?
Absolutely. I mean, they're thinking about the election and things like that, but they're not mired down in all the details that you see on the news constantly. I think they're worried about bigger things like, did I get my job back? Did I get a raise? Are my taxes lower? Am I able to take care of my family? Things like that that really impact them where they live. They come to concerts to get away from talking about those kinds of things. And so the song we wrote, Shut Up About Politics, is kind of a play on words and a pun. We decided that since we wrote it and it was so much fun, why not record it in Nashville and make it a download where people in America to actually get it. It's like 99 cents, and we're giving 100% of every download to these guys, the Folds of Honor, which puts kids through college who lost a parent in combat or a spouse through college who lost their spouse.
You've done a lot with Folds of Honor.
We do a lot. Redneck Riviera Whiskey supports Folds of Honor, 10% of every bottle. We're at Walmart now, by the way, nationwide.
That's a pretty good.
To me, Folds of Honor is one of the greatest ones out there because they pick up and make sure that those families don't fall through the cracks.
You know, originally I wanted the money to come to me.
Yeah.
But you talked me out of it.
Yeah,
and I'm glad you did.
It was very persuasive.
Yes.
This is your first.
This should be for kids.
This was your first attempt at. Well, you are always writing little songs,
yes.
and I've always loved it. But this is your actual first co-writing gig.
And if you saw the original piece that I had written, it was absolutely horrifying. I think I wrote it on a plane while into my third drink. So it was about this long, right?
Well, it was. Yeah, it was. I went back and counted it because I knew we were going to be talking about today. It was just shy of 40 paragraphs. And I called Greg and I go, Greg, you know, songs are only like this long on the page. They're like
And this is a video of when we went to your studio with your band and we got to sing the shut up part. How do you think we did?
Well, you really had some gusto behind that. I mean, Jesse Waters, I have a picture of him screaming "shut up" so loud, I think a vein might have broken his eye. But I think it's just fun, Democrats and Republicans, to scream "shut up" about politics, just for a second.
Yeah, and I know people are going to say, well, that's very hypocritical saying that when you do a show like The Five. But the difference is, I have a problem with the people who are emotional about politics. I think you can talk about all this stuff and have fun. That's the one thing I noticed on the road is that people laugh about what's going on in the administration. They laugh about the emotion and the anger that they see from other people. They go like, shut up. It's like, don't bring that stuff in here. It's not about the politics per se, but the emotional kind of tantrum and dysfunction that they bring.
Well, because they're dealing with actual problems in their own lives and actual situations, and they could care less about about all this minutia that's going on all the time. And I think that's when you want to go, would you please just shut up for a minute?
When you are performing, do you like songs like this where there is interaction with the audience? Like they get a chance to sing "Shut Up"?
Oh, yeah. I mean, so Big and Rich, we're all about crowd participation. We have this little love song called Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy.
Yeah, it's a love song.
I go,
a love song.
Everybody said, save a horse, and I stick the mic out, and it's Ride a Cowboy. You know, I'm pretty sure that song caused a small baby boom back in the early 2000s. So, yes, we love crowd participation.
And so the big news is also everybody has to come back and watch the 5.
Right.
Because
we're
you're going to sing
debuting it. I brought the guitar. We're going to sing, and you guys are going to have to back me up now with the background shut-ups.
They will. I don't like to perform in public.
Greg is going to just sit back and direct.
Yes.
Is that it?
I'm a man. I'm behind the camera sometimes in a bathrobe.
He's our producer.
Yes.
Any last words about Folds of Honor before we go?
Just that people should go to foldsofhonor.org, look them up.
And how do they download the song?
So just look up Shut Up About Politics, Apple Music, iTunes, anywhere where you get your music, you'll find it. It's 99 cents, Dana. So you can click on that, get it. Every dollar, 100% goes to the Folds
of Honor. It's not even $1. It's 99 cents.
Yeah, it's 99 cents.
You get a penny back.
Right.
And in this economy,
yes,
you could buy 3 songs.
You could. And you can share it with your friends on your social media page, Facebook, whatever. Let's do a bunch of them.
Okay, everybody can hear it here, but you're going to see it on the 5 as well when they debut it. John Rich, Greg Gutfeld, thank you.
Josh, see you don't look like a Josh.
Thank you.
I'm Dana, here's Chef.
It's 3 o'clock on the East Coast, 2 p.m. in